Good evening, everybody. This is my first video that I've created using my actual voice. All the videos I've created up to this point have been small clips of little projects that I've been working on here and there, a total of 3. So, a lot of excitement there. I have created this YouTube channel as a way for me to discuss video game development topics that I'm interested in, as well as just technology related topics and different topics that interest me um, in general. I've had this dream of creating a video game or developing a video game since I was in junior high, and I've kind of had this itch that I just never scratched. So, um, hopefully, this channel will be a way for me to keep myself accountable and post updates and force me to kind of move into that direction of developing a video game. So, uh, just to show you guys what I've been working on and kind of the direction I want to take things. Today, my objective is going to be real simple. I want to show you guys how to draw a simple Pygame window, draw a player rectangle, and an event handler to move and um, to move the player rectangle across the screen. And so, it's not going to be very exciting stuff, and it's very simple beginner type stuff, but it'll set a foundation for the direction I want to take things in the future. Okay, so starting off, I wanted to show you the final code that we'll be looking at today. And I've actually drawn up this program in several different versions. And so this first version, literally, is just very procedural. It's very straightforward. We import Python, create our variables, and then import Pygame, initiate it, create our variables, and then we run it, draw the picture to the screen, move it around using the A and D keys, and then update the screen. And so, real simple stuff. But I wanted to show you here, I've rewritten this in a much more object-oriented approach. And so here we're using actual classes and functions within those classes, and then we call everything within a level class, and then it all ties together in the main game loop. Then over here we have our final iteration of this program, where we've separated out these classes into several different files and imported them in, and to take a much more object-oriented approach towards this. You'll also notice something that I failed to mention when I was first going over it. We will be looking at using JSON for storing a lot of our variables, not all our variables, but a lot of our variables that we'll be working with in the game will be stored in JSON files, and I'll kind of talk briefly about why I decided to go that route. Um, as with anything, there's a more than one way to do, especially with programming. There's a lot of ways to handle the same task. I know that some people have some preferred methods that they would prefer, and some people have methods that I may do that may not seem right. I'm not a professional game developer. I'm not a professional programmer. I am still learning. But hopefully we can learn together and see what comes of this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have, of course, import Pygame. Okay, and anytime you import Pygame, you have to initiate it. So it's just the Pygame init function. Okay, so this is going to differ a little bit at first, and I'll kind of go over. I want to kind of build it up and show you what. We'll start off with just the variables that we're going to need um, to get a screen up, and then we'll change the color of that surface area that we'll be drawing our game images to, and then from there add in the player image, and then from there add in the event handler and move it around. In doing so, we'll meet all three objectives. And so the first thing we have to do is I'm going to go ahead and set a width is equal to 800. Okay, and then we're going to set our height equal to 600. And you don't have to use these sizes, but this is just the size I decided to go with for this image. It's a good size for me to work in. I'm gonna go ahead and create a variable for our caption. This will be up in the top of the caption up in the top of the window, and we're gonna call it simple example. Okay. All right. So we're gonna create our screen, and this is the screen where we'll be drawing everything to. That our game will be going to. So Pygame.display.set mode. Okay, and inside of here it takes a tuple value, so you'll see a parentheses inside of parentheses. Okay, so it's important to remember that, because if you don't remember that, you're gonna have issues whenever you go to run your program. Okay, and then one thing I did forget. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a frames per second variable. This will be our frame rate for the game. Okay, so Pygame.display.set caption, and our caption is going to be equal to our caption. Okay, and then the reason why I'll do it using a variable is so that in case I want to use this anywhere else, I'm just kind of demonstrating that. You could just write it in there with just regular text, and that would work just fine. But I'm trying to use more variables and make it so that I can change things in one place. One of the problems that I run into when I'm programming is I'll create a big program. It'll be running great. I'll decide I want to implement a new function. I'll throw it in there, and I'll have no idea where I changed everything, because it scales up and it gets real confusing. Okay. Okay, and then next we're going to have to create our timer is equal to pygame.time.clock with a capital C. Okay. And of course, a variable for our while loop, our main game loop. Okay, so while run timer dot tick FPS. And so what this is going to do is it's going to pause it for at the 60 frames per second rate. And so if you run it, it'll run on its own speed based off of your processor. And so some games will run faster, some games will run slower. And so we don't want that. We want a standard rate kind of for everybody. So the game behaves the same on multiple systems. So that's why we go ahead and use a timer. Okay, and so all right, let me see, whatever am I at? Okay, and we could do a pygame.display.update. Okay, and this right here is enough to get a program going, or get a screen on the window. Enough to get a screen on the window. So what I'll do now is make sure I'm in the right directory. Okay, so we got main in there, so it's just going to be python main.py. Alright, so it's going to run it, and it'll let me know if we got any errors. And we got a simple screen right there, and you can see right here we've got our caption that we decided to put up there. It's just a black screen right now, so we'll go ahead and close that out. Okay. So this is this is a perfect example of something that I just didn't think about, and I know this. So we don't have an event handler in here, so we literally have no way to um, close out our Pygame. And the other thing I forgot to add in here is you always want to make sure you close Pygame. So pygame.close. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in the event handler um, to prevent that from happening. And so it's just gonna be a simple for loop. So for event and pygame.event.get. Okay, if event dot type pygame dot, and in all caps just quit. Okay, run is equal to false. Okay, and so what that's going to do is if we press that X up on the screen, what it'll end up doing is it'll change it'll, when we hit the X, it's going to change that run variable to false, and that's going to exit us out of the loop. And then what it will do from there is close the game. And so let's go ahead and run that and make sure it works before we move forward. Alright, so I've got my window here, and I'm going to press exit. And pygame.quit, not close. Sorry about that. Alright, okay, go ahead and exit. Okay. Alright, and so you can see right here I got that error. And what I like about Python is when you get an error, it'll actually tell you what line. So we got that error on line 25. You can see right here it corresponds to line 25. And so sometimes you won't know exactly what the error means. Programming errors in the past have always been very kind of notoriously cryptic, but Python does a pretty good job of showing what it is. And it's telling me that the module Pygame has no attribute close. And so it is in fact quit. Okay, so moving on, let's go ahead and make the screen. We'll change the screen white. Okay, so it's going to be screen.fill. Okay, and it can, like, there's a lot of preset Pygame preset colors that you can use words for and stuff. I prefer to use the color codes because it's more customizable. I'll be using both. One's out of convenience, the other one if I wanted to use specific colors. But we're just going to make it white right now, so it's just going to be 255.255.255, or sorry, that's the network engineering in me coming out. 255.255.255/24-bit subnet. No, but this will be the color, and so it's going to be white. And so we'll go ahead and run it again, and it did not turn white. Okay, so let me try and figure out what's going on. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I've got display.update in there. Okay, so I figured out the error, and I want to show you guys what I did here. And so we added this code in here, and I usually do a pretty good job of it. But after I add something in, I'll usually hit Control S to save. But I'm using Notepad++, and when you look at Notepad++, and you have a little pencil icon up here in the tab that you're in, that means that you haven't saved. So like here, if I hit Control S, you see it goes away. So that means it's been saved. And so when I went to run my code, it didn't. It hadn't saved it. So we'll go ahead and hit save. Okay. Let me go ahead and run that command. Okay, and we have a window that popped up, and it is in fact white. Alright, so moving along. Okay, so we've got our width, our height, our caption, frames per second. We got our screen variables. Alright, so let's make some player variables. Something that we can draw to the screen. And I'm gonna make some variables for those positions and stuff. And so normally in the JSON file you saw where I was going to declare an X and Y variable for like the start variable, but in this version what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Pygame rect. It's an object type within Pygame. You can directly change the .x and .y. Since we won't be changing to a file and we won't be doing anything real complex, I'll just be changing it that way. But I'm going to go ahead and create the player variables here. And so it's going to be dx is our directional change for the x direction on the x-axis. dy is equal to 0. So we'll go ahead and do that. So right now there's no change going on. And I'm going to go with a player width. And we're going to call it 20. And a player height is equal to 40. That way it's just a big rectangle. And then I call it player rectangle, or prect is the variable that I named that I went ahead and decided to land on. Pygame.rect. Remember that. And this is one of those things that when we go to draw it, it's with the lowercase r, but whenever you go to create the rect object type, it's going to be with the capital R. So we'll go 50, 50 for our start position, width, and our height. Alright, go ahead and hit save. Okay. Okay. So, this is a mistake that I had to learn the hard way, way back when I was programming in Java, actually. The order that you draw things on is important. If you fill the screen with white, you're going to draw on top of your player characters. And so if you want something to appear behind it, you just draw it in the order you want to draw it in. I know whenever you're using like, I think it was OpenGL, there's more to the story than that because you have an actual Z variable. But for something 2D like this, we'll try and be cognizant of the order that we draw things so that we're not covering it up. And so we're going to go ahead and go prect dot draw dot rect. Okay, and inside of here it's going to take three variables: our screen. Okay, we'll give it a color. Go ahead and use a word variable, red, and no, that's not right. It's screen. Wait, give me 1 second. Pygame.draw. That's what I'm looking for. Pygame.draw. Screen, red, and then prect with our rectangle variable. Alright, let's see if I mess that one up or if we're going to get it right. And it looks like it's correct. So we've got a red rectangle right there. Real simple. Alright, so moving along. Now one of the things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to be able to move it around across the screen. It's kind of boring, not really a game if it's just sitting there. So you want to be able to take input from the keyboard and move it around. Alright, in order to do that, what we're going to do is we are going to change our rectangle, our player rectangle, by its x and y values. And so we're going to do that using that dx variable. And right now it's going to be 0, but what we're going to do and make sure we do at the end of every loop or anytime the loop runs, we're going to add the dx and the dy value to our prect. So it's going to be prect.x plus equal to dx and prect.y plus equal to dy. Alright, real simple. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start handling a new event type. If event.type is equal to pygame.keyDown. Okay, and then we're also going to need if.type is equal to pygame.keyUp. And the reason why I went ahead and typed it in, even though I normally would just type this out with what keys I'm going to go ahead and press on, is I wanted to illustrate something. It's a concept that I kind of had a hard time with, and a much harder time than I should have had with it. But when you press down on a key, it's like, okay, we've got an action that happens, and then um, the player would just take off the screen. It would just keep moving. Well, I didn't have anything to say, hey, stop doing that. And so that's why you need to also monitor the KeyUp function or the KeyUp event type. And so if the key is pressed, we're going to change a variable, and that variable is going to be added to our X or our Y value. And then once you release that key, the variable is going to change back. And so go ahead and type that out right now. So if event dot key is equal to pygame dot k underscore a, and we're going to go ahead and say dx is equal to -1. Okay. If event dot key is equal to pygame dot k underscore d, dx is equal to 1. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll comment this out real quick. I want to run it real quick like this, because I want to show you what happens if you don't monitor for both your key press up and your key press down. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. Alright, so we've got so I'm going to press. Alright, and I pressed it once. I'm not pressing it anymore, and it just keeps moving. Press it in the other direction. It just keeps moving. There's nothing to tell it to stop. So we're going to go ahead and close that out. Add in our KeyUp. If event dot key is equal to pygame dot k underscore a, dx is equal to 0. So we'll just set that value back to 0. If event dot key is equal to pygame dot k underscore d, dx is equal to 0. Okay, I can already spot one error right there. Okay. All right, go ahead and run it. All right, so you see I'm pressing it right now. Okay, and I take it off and it stops. Same thing in the other direction. Okay, and so I think, let me double check. I think we have officially met all of our objectives. Check my notes real quick. Yep, so we drew a window. We drew that rectangle, and we created some events to handle. So I plan on uploading this to GitHub, and so I'll upload it to GitHub and go ahead and put the code right here if anyone wants it in the post it online for you guys. Put the link in the description. As you can see, this is not, this is my first video I'm making where I'm actually talking, so please bear with me and understand that I'm not perfect. But also, I just want to give a shout out to all the other YouTube creators and other people out there who make a lot of this programming content. There's much better people at this than I am. This is just my and if you've made it this far, I appreciate that you were able to watch this, and hopefully I'll keep producing good and better quality content for you guys, and we can cover some pretty cool topics as far as game development, but my interests also do include programming, putting math on the screen and stuff like that, and kind of any kind of IT related topics. So thanks again for watching. Check out some of those other YouTubers out there that are producing Python and Pygame specific tutorials and content. There's much better people at it than me, like I was saying earlier. Thanks. All right. Y'all have a good evening. Bye.